Hi there. You are inside of Stress Talk Live. Most women over 40 suffer from anxiety, overwhelming stress, and depression. And these conditions are heightened by their roles, responsibilities, as well as regrets that these women carry. And most women have within them the ability to lower their stress levels as well as the ability to manage their anxiety as well as the depression. Inside of this episode of Stress Talk, we're first going to define what it means to be an accomplished woman. Second, we're going to explain how the approach to life hinders inner peace. And then finally, we're going to clarify the transformation that needs to take place in order to reach long lasting peace. And we're going to do so in just a moment. Welcome, 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 ladies. To those of you who are watching live and to those of you who are watching via the replay and or listening to the podcast. I'm Marcelyn Bailey of Stress Talk, and Stress Talk shares strategies to lower overwhelming stress as well as the risk of burnout for women who are over 40. And I know that these women want long lasting relief. And that's what I share. Exactly what you need to meet the challenges you face on a daily basis. Today, we're going to talk about how accomplished women actually find genuine peace and stress less. I know you want to stress less. I certainly do. And I'm certainly searching for inner peace that is constantly with me. But before we can do that, we need to talk about what an accomplished woman is. And I'm going to get into that in just a moment. First, I want to share a few things that I want you to remember. I want you to please, please, please follow me on ML Bailey Consultants on Facebook as well as on Instagram. Also, I want you to sign up for our newsletter. It is called Smiles Newsletter. And you'll find that I have that on my website as well as on my Instagram page. But I want to get into the subject matter because I have a lot of things to share with you today, and I don't want you to miss any of it. Let's see. Okay, let me get back to that. Okay, so first and foremost, we're talking about accomplished women. What exactly does that mean when I say accomplished women? You know, some of you are probably very accomplished, but you don't think you are. Because we think of being accomplished as someone who is successful and successful by the world standards. Someone who probably makes lots and lots of money, someone who has notoriety, meaning that they are well known, someone who is known in their profession, that their name is a household name. We think of those people as being accomplished, right? Well, yeah, they are accomplished because they've worked hard to achieve something in their professional lives that they're proud of and that contributes to the world around them. But here is my definition of an accomplished woman. I don't think you have to have notoriety, meaning, I don't think that everyone around the world needs to know your name. I also don't think that you have to make lots and lots of money to be accomplished. I look at a woman who is accomplished as someone who is constantly being pulled in different directions and somehow managing to juggle her roles, her responsibility, her task. She's keeping all of those balls in the air. She is not, she is doing those things that she feels she needs to do to accomplish her goal. Her goal could be that she's raising her children and she wants her children to grow into being confident, self sufficient, self supporting, independent adults. Her goal may be managing her family, making sure that her family has everything that they need. It could also mean that she is providing support for aging parents, whatever that might mean. I talk to women all the time who say that they have to make sure that their elderly parent is getting the medication that they're supposed to take on a daily basis. So they're either checking in with their parent or they're making sure that the medication is lined out in a medication box so that they can take what they're supposed to take. Another thing that an accomplished woman, in my view, is doing, she is volunteering in her community. She belongs to professional organizations and she participates. She is contributing to her community at large. She is involved in the community at large, either as a volunteer, either as a person who participates in organizations in the community. She also may be someone who works, whether in the home or outside of the home, dealing with the pressures, the boredom, the frustration of work. She may be someone who's building a career as she's doing all of these other things. To me, that is a woman who is accomplished. We may not know that person's name. We may not know everything about that person. However, she is accomplished in her own right. How many of you out there can relate to this description of an accomplished woman? And how many of you would in turn say, aha, yes, I'm accomplished because I'm doing those things? I'm raising a family. I'm managing my household. I'm taking care of elderly parents or supporting them. I'm working a full time, part time job. I'm building my own business. I work in my home, all of these things, and I participate in community activities, community organizations. That is someone who is accomplished. And you should pat yourself on the back. Go ahead, do it right now. Pat yourself on the back because you are an accomplished woman. This this definition, I believe, describes most women because we have many roles, many responsibilities that we're trying to manage and to keep going. Not only do we have roles and responsibilities, we have expectations. We have expectations of ourselves, our own expectations, and we have the expectations of others. There's also a little a caveat to having expectations. Not only do we have our own expectations, not only do we have expectations that others have of us, we also deal with our perception of the expectations that we feel others have of us. So, what do I mean by that? What I mean is we constantly perceive that someone has an expectation of us that they may or may not have, or a level of expectation that they may or may not have. So, in addition to having our own expectations, and in addition to the expectations others have of us, there's that caveat of the perception that of expectations that we hold within ourselves. Okay. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, drop a question in the comment section. I will answer it now as well as later. When I see that there's a question, I always try to answer it. So that is my definition of an accomplished woman. And I believe that that covers most of us. It covers most of us over 40 women. We're juggling lots of things and we're keeping lots of balls in the air. And every once in a while, there's a bowling pin that we have to we have to juggle in addition to the balls. And then there's some knives thrown at us and we have to juggle those too. But being able to do that means that we are accomplished and that we are accomplishing things that perhaps another gender does not have to accomplish. So we've talked about what an accomplished woman is. So the second thing I want to do is talk about our experience of happiness, because we strive to be happy, and that's what we're taught to do. We strive to be happy. We want to be happy. Well, when we strive to be happy, we're usually striving. We look for things outside of ourselves to make us happy. And I mentioned some of those things earlier. When we're trying to reach happiness or to experience happiness, we talk about things like having a good job, a job that pays well, a job in which we're able to use our skills. Those things make us happy. We talk about having a nice car, a car that gets us where we need to be, whether it's to the store, whether it's to church, whether it's from to and from work. We want a car, right? And that makes us happy. We talk about being in a relationship, in a meaningful relationship with someone. That makes us happy. We also talk about having a nice place to stay in a nice neighborhood. Okay, I put that in quotes, neighborhood. We talk about things that are outside of us, things that will make us happy. And in the Western culture, which is European based, we strive for those things. We work hard for those things. We go to school, we buy a house, we buy cars, we get married. Some of us, we get married or we get into a relationship, a meaningful relationship. We have children, we have the dog, we have the cat, we live in a nice neighborhood, and those things make us happy. At least they're supposed to make us happy. The thing is, when we get those things, we're constantly striving to hold on to those things. We're constantly striving to keep those things. And that can cause undue stress. It can cause pain. It can cause struggle. And it can cause us to suffer. And so when we talk about happiness and the Western view of happiness, where happiness is when we feel good and when we're satisfied and we expect things outside of ourselves to make us happy, we're sometimes missing the point, right? True happiness is equated to having an unshakable inner peace. I'm going to say that again. True happiness is equated to, is equal to, is the same as experiencing unshakable inner peace. And when we have an unshakable inner peace, we have freedom. Freedom from pain, freedom from suffering, long-term pain, and freedom from suffering. So where does that come from? It comes from it comes from Buddhist tradition. The Buddha believed that in order to experience true happiness, you have to have inner peace. And when you have an unshakable inner peace, think about this. Having an unshakable inner peace is like being in the eye of a hurricane where the winds are whirling around and the storms are all around you, but you're in a calm and a peaceful place. Now, I've experienced being in the eye of a hurricane. I've experienced going through a hurricane, and it is no joke, you all. It's no joke. It's no joke. It's one of the most scariest things that anybody could possibly go through. But I've also been in the eye of the hurricane, and I can tell you it is uncannily peaceful in the eye. When that first that first wall of the hurricane passes through after all that torrential rain and the storms and the lightning and the possibility of tornadoes and all that flooding and scary stuff. And then when the eye comes, it is eerily peaceful. There is such a calm and such a peace. The wind isn't even blowing. It's like it's unbelievably peaceful. But of course, the eye doesn't last very long because the hurricane is moving. And then that second eye wall comes and the storm is even worse. It's even worse. What I'm saying is this, that in the Western culture, we are taught to strive for, to work for, we're driven to gain happiness from things that bring us pleasure, like material possessions, material things. But material things can be lost, like in a hurricane. It can be lost. It can just go. Recognition is something else that we are taught to strive for, and we're driven towards. We want to be known. But recognition is also something that doesn't last. People forget. Other people come along and gain their attention. So recognition is not even lasting. We are told that we should achieve and we should work towards the highest achievements. And yes, that is all very good, and we should do that too. We should. But we should not pin our desire for happiness on it. We're also told that we should be in meaningful relationships, and meaningful relationships are important. They are important to our health and to our well-being. However, if we pin all of our hope for happiness on those relationships, relationships don't always last. People transition. We also gain happiness from food and from drink. And oftentimes we overindulge, don't we? Yeah. So what the Western view of happiness is temporary. It's based on sensual emotions. It's based on what makes us feel good in the moment. And what happens is we often get into a pattern of having to feed that beast. It requires constant attention for us to be happy, bigger, better things for us to be happy, higher accomplishments, higher achievements for us to feel happy. But there is a better way, and there is a better way, particularly for women over 40. For women over 40 who want to no longer strive, but they want to experience genuine peace and they also want to stress less. And that's what I'm going to talk about right now in the remaining few minutes that I have. In order to transition to in order to go not transition but in order to go through a transformation that ensures long-lasting peace, that gains true happiness, which is, as we've said before, unshakable inner peace, so that no matter what goes on, we can continue to have the inner peace and we have what we need to meet the challenges that we face on a daily basis. We need to do a couple of things. First, we want to identify and remove the sources of those things that cause us pain and suffering. Now, when I say we want to remove the sources, much of what causes us pain and suffering is right here in our head. It's our thoughts, and it's right here in our hearts. Okay? We think, what we think causes us to feel. And if we have thoughts that are not healthy, that are not wholesome, we're going to feel unhealthy and we're not going to feel wholesome. So, first, we want to remove those sources. We want to find out what is causing us to have these thoughts that are unhealthy and unwholesome, and that will help us to transform how we feel. Now, I'm going to give you an example, okay? Let's say you're driving and someone cuts you off. You're on your way to work, you're driving in your car that you love, and somebody cuts you off. Phew! And you're like, ah! You grab that steering wheel, you may lay on the horn. Yeah. I know if you live in New York, you're going to lay on the horn. I know if you live in Cleveland, Ohio, you're going to lay on the horn. Northerners lay on the horn. But if you live in Atlanta, you're going to lay on that horn. But people where I live do not blow their horns. I do. I blow my horn. Get out of my way. Okay. But you're driving, you're on your way to work, and somebody cuts you off. You have a thought that you may not even notice. Your thought may be, that idiot, that blankety blank blank almost hit my car that I love. That may be the thought. But that thought may come so quickly that the thing you recognize is the feeling. You're angry. You're emotional. You want to scream because you want to say some things to that person who cut you off. Well, think about it. In that brief moment, you are actually without peace. You're also suffering and you're in pain, emotional pain, right? In that moment, when you're feeling anger and you're feeling like you could just blow up and you're feeling all of this emotion because you're tight and you're tense like this because you were cut off, you're not experiencing peace. You don't have peace. Your peace is gone. The peace you thought you had was gone. Right? Just take a moment and think about that. Because the happiness or the peace was based on your pretty car, your pretty car that you didn't want to get hit. That pretty, beautiful little sports car you got. I know you got a sports car. That you didn't want to get hit. All of a sudden, your peace was gone. So that's a relatively mild incident, right? But that mild incident can cause the rest of your day or the rest of your morning to be crappy because you're not able to let it go. Now, there are other things that can also be very intense that can cause your peace to be shaken as well. But imagine repeated episodes of things like being cut off or someone calling you when you're busy or someone interrupting you when you're writing a letter, a memo, or an email that you need to get out in a few minutes. It robs you of your peace. Those are the things that we want to identify first, the incidents that rob you of your peace, but go even further, dig deeper to get to the source of why it causes you that pain. Because that's kind of surface stuff. When somebody cuts you off and you get angry about it like that, there's something deeper attached to it. It could be that you just got the car and you want to keep it nice. It could be that you can't afford a new car and it's scary to think about having to get a new car. It could also be that you don't want to feel vulnerable. It could be even that. But we want to look at those incidences, those occurrences that cause your peace to be shaken, and we want to get to the root of it. We want to get to the root so that we can deal with that. The next thing, once we get to the root of it, then the third thing is we want to help you to maintain the peace that you have. And the best way that I believe you can do that is through practicing mindfulness and mindfulness meditation. Living mindfully and practicing mindfulness meditation keeps us in the moment. It keeps us from jumping ahead into the future where we get all anxious, or living in the past where we get depressed. Living mindfully and practicing mindfulness meditation teaches us to live in the moment, not just day by day, not hour by hour, but in the present moment, without judgment, with curiosity and compassion. The person who cut you off may be late for work, and they couldn't be late for work anymore. They were told that if they were late for work, they were going to lose their job, and they can't afford to lose their job. The person who cut you off probably didn't do it intentionally because they wanted to get back at you or they wanted to do something to hurt you. That person was trying to maybe get where they needed to be so they would not suffer pain or harm. Living mindfully and practicing mindfulness meditation, I believe, is the key. So for those of you who are coming in late, I'm Marcelyn Bailey of Stress Talk, and I share strategies that lower overwhelming stress and the risk of burnout for women over 40 who want long-lasting relief. And I offer exactly what you need to to meet the challenges that we face on a daily basis. And now that I'm at my 30-minute mark, I hope I've given you lots of things to think about, because we've talked about how accomplished women actually find genuine peace and stress less. First, I defined what it means to be an accomplished woman. Second, I explained how our approach to life hinders inner peace. And then finally, I clarified how we can transform to ensure that we experience long-lasting peace. If you hopped on late, feel free to watch the replay. You will find it on Facebook and on YouTube. I greatly appreciate those of you who joined me today. Please join me next week, same time, same day. Yeah, same time, same day, Sundays at 7 p.m. And if you have any topics around stress, stress management, or stress relief that you'd like for me to cover, please DM me, drop me a note, put it in the comment section of the video, and I will definitely talk about it so that we can continue to share. Also, if you found this session useful, I want you to know that I send monthly strategies to your inbox, and you can download a guide that I have. It's called the 7 Sensational Stress Solutions, so that you can get more good stuff. And you can do that when you subscribe to the Smiles newsletter. Well, that's all for now. Again, thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again. I'm Marcelyn Bailey of Stress Talk Live. As always, take good care.